you were a kid, did you ever take like two things from your childhood and try crossing them over? Like, growing up, I knew a lot of people who imagined like Mario and Sonic coming together, and they eventually would. Or having like Crash and Spyro and Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter. Just bringing these people together like in your childhood, making some like fun fantasies in your head when you were a kid. But for me, I took the very violent world of Mortal Kombat with the very kid-friendly creature capturing world of Pokemon. I was a very weird kid. So today we're going to be taking a fun little venture, making a weird ass video, and we're going to be giving every single Mortal Kombat character Pokemon typings. So let's talk about this one. Fight! Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Nick here, and welcome to, or welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be doing something a little bit different that's still oriented around Mortal Kombat, a very big focus on my channel, and covering it and crossing it over with the very weird world of Pokemon. Why? Because I'm bored and I want to experiment. How I'm going to be assigning typings for every character are based on the elements or like some of their weapons that they use, or even some attributes from like their backstory or characteristic. And don't worry, I'm not going to be giving everyone the fighting type because everyone's martial artists. That would be very lame. But I am going to try and differentiate everyone so not everyone's going to have like same dual typings. And I'm also just going to be explaining my reasoning for each of these, whether it be very quick or really trying to scratch and reach differently just so I can get like a different typing so not everyone's going to feel the same. Also, to make this more interesting, similar to how the actual games have different forms for some of the Pokemon, I'm going to give some of the combatants different forms based on like the original timeline, the NRS timeline, and the new era, just to spice things up a little bit. Also, if you couldn't tell by the content or the tone of this video, this is meant to be a goofy and fun video, so let's just have fun with it, and while we're at it, let's get right into it. Starting off with the first category, looking at the Union of Light, the Shaolin Monks, and the overall good guys of the franchise. I'm breaking these up into multiple segments, and this is just the first grouping we're going to be looking at. Our first character we're looking at in the Shaolin Monks category is Liu Kang, and this is interesting because we're looking at three different forms. The Shaolin Monk form, or the one that we see throughout the Midway era, is going to be fighting and fire. Primarily, I gave him this because he is a Shaolin monk, which is very much fighting based, and because of the fireballs that he can shoot. The second version we're looking at is the zombie or undead form that appeared in Deception. This also goes for the Revenant form in MKX. Since they are undead, it is now going to be fighting and ghost. So yeah, I guess this can be this version's Annihilate. And when he goes into Fire God form, I'm actually going to make him Fire and Dragon this time around. Dragon because it's one of the strongest typings in the games, and I wanted him to retain the Fire typing. Up next is Kung Lao, and this one is going to be retained throughout every single version of the character, and that is Steel and Fighting. Fighting because of the Shaolin Monk once again, and Steel because of his hat. Yeah, it's pretty simple and basic, I know. Moving on to our next character that someone in the Whack Pack Cherry Blossom wants to see make a return, Kai. And very similar to Liu Kang's Shaolin Monk form I discussed earlier, he'll also be fire and fighting. Up next is the master of the Shaolin Monks duo, Bo Raicho. Yes, this one is a bit of a stretch for two reasons. One, because I wanted to have more of this type represented, and science. He is actually going to be grass and poison. The reason I went for grass is because he uses his wooden cane, which that could be seen as a grassy or naturey type thing, but the other reason is that ethanol, or ethyl alcohol, is actually made when yeast ferments the sugars in grains, fruits, and vegetables, and those are grass types, so that's why I'm doing that. And there's your science lesson for the day. And the reason I went with poison is because bile, or vomit, is in his moveset, and that's pretty gross and disgusting, so that's poisonous. Up next, we've got ourselves the other version of Bo Raicho, I guess, and this is Madame Bo. This time around, I decided to give her normal because she comes off as one of the most normal people you come across in the entire game, and I wanted to fill it out with more of this type. And I wanted to give her the poison typing. She works at a restaurant, serves and uses alcohol to throw at the opponent, and she smokes, which is poison to your body. A character that deserves to make a comeback in this new era or in a future Mortal Kombat title, this being Nightwolf. This one, I am gonna give him Steel because of his tomahawks that he uses, and I'm also giving him the Ghost typing. This is because he uses a lot of weapons that come from the spirit realm, and ghosts are spirits of dead people. So that's why I gave him the Steel and Ghost typings. Next on our list is Li Mei, and this is where things are gonna get a little more interesting. And this time I'm giving her the Fighting type, as her entire moveset uses her fists primarily, and she's gonna be the first combatant I'm giving the Fairy typing. With all of the lanterns and magical butterfly stuff that she has in her arsenal, especially in MK1, I thought that this fit the Fairy typing the best. Stepping up next is the protagonist from Deception, Shujinko, or protagonist in Japanese. To make this one very unique, I'm giving him the normal typing. Now I know many people are gonna go, wait a minute, why is he a normal type? Wouldn't it make more sense to make him fighting? But hear me out. I'm treating Shujinko more like he's Ditto in this case, because Shujinko learns a lot from the masters in this game, so I want to imagine that he could just use any special move in his disposal. Hence, that's closely linked to Ditto and Smeargle, so that's why I'm giving him the normal typing. We're going to console at the next entry, this being Raiden with 3 different forms. The Thunder God form, primarily seen in the Midway era and in the early part of the NRS era, I'm going to give him the Electric and Psychic typing. Electric because, well, no duh, he uses electricity, and because Raiden is more of a wise character as one of the gods of the game, I wanted to give him this Psychic typing. The Game Freak devs also wanted to give Psychic to some of the legendaries because it's seen as a very powerful type. Hence, Thunder God Raiden gets the Electric Psychic typing. Conversely, Dark Raiden, seen in Deception in MKX and MK11, will get the Electric Dark. A lot of his motivations are a lot more dark, and he's more evil. And fun fact, in Japan, the Dark type is called the Evil type, so that's more fitting there. And the third form, or the New Era form, is just going to be Fighting and Electric. In this reimagination, we see him as just a regular Shaolin fighter and given an electric amulet that grants him this power. Hence, he gets Fighting and Electric. And the last person in the Union of Light category goes to Fujin. Very similar to Raiden with the Psychic typing, I'm gonna give Fujin the Psychic and Flying types. Same reason for Psychic with Raiden, but this time he gets Flying because he uses a lot of wind powers, as he is the god of the wind. Moving on to our next set of good guys, we're looking at the Special Forces. Starting off the Special Forces category with Johnny Cage. I really thought long and hard with this one, penis joke, deciding whether I would give him a 1 or 2 typings, the first obviously being Fighting because he's a stunt person, but I did decide to give him Steel. It's a bit of a stretch, but a lot of it could come down to the rings that he uses in MKX, or even the camera rig to break the opponent's ribs in Mortal Kombat 1, or the fact he uses his damn Oscar just to stab somebody in Mortal Kombat 11, all of which are made out of some form of metal, so I thought that was enough of a stretch to give him the Steel type as well. I also thought he'd make a fun parallel to Pokemon's Lucario. Up next, we've got Sonya Blade, and this one's pretty obvious. I'm giving her the Fire and Fighting type. Fighting because, well, obvious, she's a Special Forces trained fighter, and Fire coming from her fatality in Mortal Kombat Classic. The Kiss of Death burns people away, and she's a Special Forces operative using guns. Technically, that's fire power, so there's the fire for that one. And to save time and energy, the same applies for Cassie Cage. Up next goes to Jackson Briggs, and this one is going to be a little bit interesting and a little subversive. He's actually going to be Steel and Ground. Steel is the obvious takeaway because of his metallic arms that he has, but since a lot of his moveset focuses on ground pounds, I thought that Ground would be a good fit here. Also, we don't have the Ground type filled out yet, so I thought this would be an obvious choice for that. Next, we've got ourselves my buddy Jeff's favorite Mortal Kombat character, Kenshi. Because of his sword and his telepathy, I'm giving him the Steel and Psychic dual typing. I did debate on wanting to use the Ghost type because he has the spirit with him in the later Mortal Kombat games, but I thought Psychic was a better fit because of the telepathy angle. Up next is Jackie Briggs, and I'm giving her Steel steel because of the gauntlets that she's given, and with her use of bombs and rockets, she'll get the fire typing for that. Probably everyone's favorite combat kid, Takeda, will get the dark and steel typing. Because of his ninja training from the Shirai Ryu, this is why I gave him the dark, as he's more stealth based, and then because of his whips, I gave him the steel typing. And the last one we're looking at in this section goes to Kung Jin with grass and dark. Because of his wooden bow and some natural elements the character has, I gave him the grass typing, and because he was more of a thief in his backstory, I gave him the dark type as well. Also, I wanted to give 2 people from the Special Forces segment the dark type at least. Time to get into our first group of bad guys, this going to both the Black Dragon and Red Dragon clans. The head honcho of the Black Dragon, Kano, is getting the dark and steel typing. Dark is a pretty obvious choice, as he is a very evil guy, also being the Special Forces' most wanted, and also because Black Dragon, Dark, they're both darkish shades, I guess. I don't know, that's a dumb stretch, but anyway, you get the point. And steel is obvious because of the knives he has and the metal plate in his face. Up next is Cobra, and he's gonna get the fighting type. And because he's a basic and boring lackey, he will stick with the fighting type and not get a dual typing. Speaking of lackeys, Kira will get the steel typing because of her daggers. The speedster of the Mortal Kombat universe, Cabal, comes in with steel and poison. Steel being obvious because of his weird creepy mask and the hook swords, and because of his gas canister being used as a weapon, he will also get the poison typing for that reason. And before you guys comment, well, what about his Revenant form? He's not gonna change that typing. He's gonna stay steel and poison. Up next is Jarek, and because he's an evil guy, I'm giving him dark. And the other reason I'm giving him dark is because a bunch of the people in Special Forces and the Union of Light have the fighting typing, meaning that he will not stand a chance to any of them, because Jarek sucks. Suhao, I'm giving the steel typing because of the weird thing he has in his chest. Oh, and also because the Union of Light and Special Forces characters can hit him with the fighting type, meaning that he won't stand that much of a chance. Up next, we are putting Movado on here, and he's gonna get the steel and electric types. Steel because of a lot of his weapons that he uses, both in Deadly Alliance and Mortal Kombat 1 as a cameo. He has those shock traps, he has those weird little bungee cord things that have blades at the end of them. So yeah, no matter what era he's in, he has the steel electric typing. And the last character in this category goes to Tremor, and this one's unique because I'm giving him 3 different variants. His base, the regular or classic, is gonna be rock and fighting. Meanwhile, when he gets his aftershock form, he's gonna be rock and ground. And last but not least, when he's metallic, he's gonna have the steel and fire, all of which are based on moves that he can do in either MKX, MK1, or Mortal Kombat Special Forces. Now time to move on to the most fun category of the video, this breaking down the ninjas and their typings. Kicking off the ninjas section is the poster boy and Rain's favorite Mortal Kombat character, Scorpion. His tournament variation, seen in the Midway games and primarily in the NRS title before the New Era reboot, will get the fire and ghost typing. Fire because he uses a lot of hellfire in his powers, and because he has come back from the dead as a Hell Spectre, he's getting the ghost typing. However, the Hanzo Hisashi, or the purified restored version of Scorpion, will get steel and fire. Steel because of his ninjutsu weapons such as the blades and the spear, and fire because, well, obvious he still has the firepower. And then New Era is gonna be different. I'm gonna give him fire and fighting. He's not a Spectre, he just has pyrokinesis, and I didn't want to reuse the steel typing again, so I decided to go with fighting. Up next is his rival or brother, depending on the timeline, this being Sub-Zero. Similar to Scorpion, he has 3 different versions. The first being Bi-Han is gonna be ice and dark. No matter what timeline it is, he's using ice powers or cryomancy, and dark for him because he has some of those dark intentions that has been hinted through the storyline, and he would also become Noob Saibot, so I thought that'd be like a fitting like little evolutionary thing that could carry over. And in MK1, he's more of an evil character, so that's why he gets the dark type. However, Kuai Liang will just get the ice and psychic. It's a fun counter to Bi-Han with the ice and Dark, and he's more of a wise character instead, so that's why I wanted to give him the Psychic typing. And Cyber Sub-Zero, his deal is pretty obvious. He becomes a cyborg in this one, made of metal, so, you know, you've got that. Up next is Reptile, and I'm gonna give him Poison and Dragon. Poison's pretty obvious as he uses a lot of acid-based attacks. However, Dragon is gonna be because he's more lizard-like. It's also a strong typing, and because he was a secret fighter in the first game, I thought it would be more rewarding to make him a dragon and more of a reason why he's harder to go against. This variation will remain consistent among every single era of Reptile. Up next is Princess Nokia's banger, Kitana. This going to be Steel because of her Steel fans and the Fairy typing. The reason I went with Fairy is because there's a lot of kiss-based attacks in the Fairy moveset, and because she has the Kiss of Death, I thought this was a good stretch enough, and I thought it'd be a nice parallel to Melina, who is up next. She also will get the Steel typing because of her Sai, and she's gonna get the Dark typing as she's more of the evil sister, and a lot of bite-based attacks which are labeled under the Dark typing. The third Lady Ninja in this category is Jade, and she's gonna get Grass and Steel. A bit of an interesting one here, but I decided to go with Grass because she's one of the two characters that's hiding in the living forest, hence a grassy environment that she hides out in, and the second for Steel because of her glaive and her bow staff. Speaking of hiding in the forest, our next character is Smoke. This one's pretty easy, I'm just splitting it into two different categories, either being Ninja or LK7T2, also known as the Cyborg version. Instead of giving him the Grass type, I'm actually gonna give him the Dark and Normal. Dark because he's also a ninja that hides a lot in the smoke and shadows, and Normal because he does use a lot of other ninjas' abilities in the arcade era. And I guess my argument for the new era, or just throughout the entire series, is that gray kind of goes well with that normal emblem that's associated with the typing. And then for LK7T2, he's Steel and Dark. When he was a cyborg, he was more of an evil character, and he still retains some of those ninja-like elements, being able to go fully invisible, and because he's a cyborg, I gave him the Steel typing. Up next is Noob Saibot, and foreshadowing is foreshadowed. He's going to retain the Dark typing from Bi-Han, but this time he's gonna have the Ghost typing. That given to him because Quan Chi had resurrected him as a Wraith, and that's more ghostly if you ask me. This typing can also apply to Ermac, also being Ghost and Dark. He's more of an evil character no matter what timeline he is in, and Ghost because he's made up of a bunch of souls, and that counts as the Ghost typing for me. Next in this category goes to the Purple Prince himself, Rain. No matter what timeline we're looking at, he is gonna get the Water and Electric typing. Water is very obvious because he uses the element of water in his moveset, and in every game he's appeared in playably, he uses lightning strikes in his moveset, hence giving him the Electric typing. Up next is Tanya, and I'm gonna make this a little simple. In her original timeline before the new era, she was just gonna get the Dark type because she's more deceptive. However, in the new era, she's more loyal and uses magic, and I'm gonna give her the Fairy typing. Pretty basic and simple, there you go. Both Cyrax and Sector, no matter what era you're looking at, are getting the Steel and Fighting types because of either their missile and bombs, and the fact that they're cyborgs or using mech suits. And before you guys complain that they're the same typing, just make their stats different and give them different movesets. There you go, problem solved. Up next is Sub-Zero's student, Frost. And this time around, in the ninja form, I'm just gonna give her the Ice typing, and the cyborg type, or I guess in this case her evolution, because she was still seen as a cameo in Mortal Kombat 1, she's gonna get the Ice and Steel typing this time around. Same reason applies for the cyber ninjas seen earlier. Up next in the category is Scarlet, the red ninja, and I'm gonna give her Poison and Psychic. Psychic is pretty easy because she uses blood telekinesis, where she can manipulate and move your blood, so I thought that made sense. However, Poison was more of a stretch, but it makes sense to me. She's able to inject them with or use blood against the opponent, I guess seeing it as like a poison to the opponent, so it's poison, I guess, whatever. And the last ninjas we're looking at in this category all get the same typing, this being Chameleon, and Floyd. They will be getting the normal typings similar to something with Shujinko. They're able to use multiple people's movesets, which has been commonly classified under the normal type, hence the Rainbow Trio gets the normal typing. Moving on to our next category, this is going to the Outworlders. I know that's very broad, and I didn't want to break it up into like Tarkatans or this or that, so Here's just a blanket statement for all of the Outworlders and people from that realm. So here we go. Stabbing right in with our first character in this category, Baraka. And if you've been paying attention by now and saw Melina getting the dark typing, you can betcha that Baraka will also get dark, and because of his blades on his arms, he's also gonna get the steel typing. Moving ahead to the next character, Queen Sindel. Because of that banshee that she has, I'm gonna give her the ghost typing. I did debate on doing dark because that's more evil, but I thought ghost would make it more interesting. And for a surprise second typing, I'm gonna give her the normal type. That is because a lot of sound-based attacks are given normal typings. For an example, something like Uproar, or the Pokemon Exploud. And since Screaming is in her moveset, which is sound-based, she gets the normal type. Taking a look at one of our first sub-bosses in this video, and one of the most forgotten ones, this being Moloch. This one's pretty basic and easy to understand. He's gonna get the rock type because of the boulder attached to his hand, and because he's an Oni that lives in Goro's lair in the darkness, he's also gonna get the dark typing. Up next on this one is Aaron Black, yet this one is gonna be pretty surprising. I'm gonna give him the dual typing of fire and poison. Similar to what I said for Sonya and Cassie, because he's packing heat with his guns, I'm giving him the fire typing, and because he uses Zaterran Acid in his moveset for Mortal Kombat 11, I'm giving him the poison typing. Next, we got ourselves the Veternian of Mortal Kombat, introduced in Deadly Alliance, Natara. This one was kinda hard to pinpoint as I was stuck between two typings, but similar to what I did with Scarlet, I'm going to give Natara Poison as her first typing. She uses a lot of blood-based powers in Mortal Kombat 1, and since it negatively impacts them, sorta somewhat poisoning them, I thought this was loose enough to make it a poison typing. And obviously because of her wings and her air combat, she's getting the flying type too. Our first four-armed fighter that we are looking at in this video, Shiva. The Shokan warrior is gonna get the fire dual typing with dragon. Fire is pretty obvious because she uses a lot of fireballs in every iteration of the character, and the reason for dragon is because these Shokan are half human, half dragon hybrids, hence she gets the dragon typing. Up next, we got ourselves the general of Shao Kahn's army, Reiko. Because of his reliance on weaponry, I'm giving him the steel typing, that being because of his ninja stars and his crude hammer, and in the Mortal Kombat 1 timeline, him with his dagger, steel felt like it made the most sense. And because a lot of his dark actions being aligned with General Shao or Shao Kahn, and trying to steal Shao Kahn's helmet, he gets the dark typing for that. Next is a character I want to see make a comeback in a future Mortal Kombat game, and this is Draman. Now because he is a demon of the Netherrealm, exiled there for his horrible actions, I did almost go with dark here, but because I already associated demons with being the ghost type, I thought it'd make it more fun to make Draman a ghost. And because of all the gross insects flying around him, I thought it'd be a fun fusion to give him the ghost and bug typing. It also helps that he chucks the bugs at people for one of his projectiles in Deadly Alliance. Yeah, I know I feel like I could have given him the steel typing, but I've already given a lot of people in this category that type, so like his secondary typing, I hope it doesn't bug ya. One of the coolest newcomers to be introduced in Mortal Kombat X, and I hope makes a return in Mortal Kombat 1 or MK13, Kotal Kahn. Because of him being a sun god and summoning totems, this is an easy one, fire and rock. And another awesome character introduced in MKX, I already hear the haters incoming, and that is Devora. Pretty basic and pretty easy, it's bug and flying. And the last character that we are closing out here goes to Ferrator. And similar to a character like Kangaskhan, a group of two, I'm gonna give it a similar typing, that just being normal. Why? Because I've already used a lot of dual typings that I feel that fit, and I want to diversify this one a bit. Kind of imagine it like a Snorlax, it's just normal, it's just kind of a jack of trades with a bunch of stuff that could fit in pretty much any typing. Time to move on to our next category. This one I'm labeling the extras, just like side characters or very obscure characters that are going in here. Kicking off the extras here is Taven. Because he's the son of Argus, a demigod, I thought I'd give him a strong type to reflect that. And because he's closely associated with the dragons Orin and Karo, I thought I'd give him the dragon typing. And I'd also give him fighting, for reasons to be explained coming up, as up next is Dagon. And because Dagon is more deceptive, I'm giving giving him the dragon and dark typing, because at the end of the day, Taven did beat Dagon, and I need to remind you that fighting beats dark. Hence, that is why I gave those two that typing. Up next, we have everyone's favorite demon chick that people want to see playable again, this being Serena. And since she's a weird fire imp chick, I'm gonna give her the fire ghost typing. Not much else to say there, it's pretty basic and understandable. Up next, we've got ourselves Stryker, one of my least favorite original characters in the entire franchise, and similar to Sonya Blade, because he packs heat, uses grenades and guns, he's gonna get the fire typing. But to make him stand out differently among the special forces and other gun users, I'm giving him the electric type because of his tasers. They're a key defining trait, and I thought it would make sense to give him that type to reflect that. Our other favorite demon chick that's redeemed herself fully, Ashra. Because she's still part demon, I'm gonna give her the ghost type still, but because she's purified and good, I'm also gonna give her the fairy typing, making for a very unique typing, I know, but I thought it would just be cool to have her be a huge outlier and would stand out there because of that. Another character I would love to see make a return in the new era, also one of John Vogel's favorites, this being Hataru. Because of his awesome set of armor, I'm giving him the steel typing, and because he can use the lava plume ground projectile, I'm gonna give him the fire typing as well. Up next, we've got ourselves probably one of the most forgettable characters in the entire series, Dairu. And because I find him very basic and forgettable, and he doesn't really offer that much to stand out differently compared to Shaolin monks and other fighters, he's gonna get the normal typing. But the second type I'm gonna give him is ground because of that weird back thing he does where he hits the ground and he causes a weird shockwave. I'm really stretching with this one, I know. Havoc is gonna get the dark and poison typing. He's very much an evil character who cares only about chaos, which is pretty evil in any of the timelines, and his secondary typing is gonna be poison. He modifies his body and contorts it in weird ways, uses his blood quite a ton for his attacks, and even when he rips out his own heart and shoves it in the opponent's body, it starts to decay and break apart, you know, something like what a poison would do to a person's body. Hence, he gets the dark and poison dual typing. Darius, this one's pretty basic because he is a very basic character, he just gets the fighting type. Geras is a character that I kinda struggled finding a dual typing for. Because of his manipulation of time, I decided to give him the psychic typing. The only other character I can think of that also manipulates time is Celebi, who was also given the psychic typing, and I thought that made sense. He's also a very powerful character in the Mortal Kombat lore, so this reflects it well too. And because he's an absolute unit of a person, I gave him the fighting type. Another godly character we're looking at is Cetrion, as she is an elder god capable of manipulating water, fire, air, and dirt. And magnets, how do they work? I felt that the two types that fit her best based on her design and gameplay were rock and grass. Anyone who's played Combat League and MK11 really knows the struggle of fighting a Cetrion using the ground pound and the rock throws, and her design has a bunch of green to it that really reminds me of grass. Oh, and she has crystals on her body, which is also a rock, so there's more of an argument for the rock typing there. Don't worry, I didn't forget about him. We have our secret fighter, Mocap from Deadly Alliance. And just because he's a dude covered in balls, the most normal guy ever, he gets the normal typing. And if I want to be serious, it's because he's the motion capture for every single character in the game, so based on the logic I gave to the Chameleon trio, that makes sense. I give him the normal typing. And our last person to close out this category goes to Meat. And since he's a product of the flesh pits, probably coming back from the dead, I'm just gonna give him the ghost typing as he's technically an undead character. But honestly, this typing is really hard to figure out because this dude is literally just made out of flesh with no skin. It's really disgusting. Our second to last category we're looking at are the bosses, another one of the most fun ones to break down, and here we go. Our version of Machamp, Goro, will get the dragon and fighting typing. Very similar to Shiva, he is a half man, half dragon, so he gets the dragon typing. And because he's a brave warrior fighting for several tournaments, I'm giving him the fighting typing. And the second sub-boss in the Mortal Kombat series, Kintaro, I'm simplifying and just giving him fire. I have way too many fire and fighting types in this video already, and plus if you fight against him in Mortal Kombat 9, he uses way too many fire fire-based attacks, hence I'm just giving him the fire type here. Our sub-boss stallion, Motaro, this one was a little bit tricky. Because of the stone castle that you fight him in, I decided to give him rock typing to make him stand out from the sub-boss trio so far, and because of his giant iron tail, I'm giving him the steel typing as well. A fun duo that I haven't given to in this video yet. The Dragon King himself, Onaga, wow, we already hit the most obvious one here, gets the dragon typing, and because you see him fly around in a few of the cutscenes, and for his giant wings, he also gets the flying type. Our final boss of Armageddon, Blaze, I'm gonna give him two forms depending on when you find him in the series. If it's the secret fighter form from Deadly Alliance or the extra fighter in Unchained, he's just gonna get the fire typing because he's just a dude that's made out of fire. But when you see him at the end of Armageddon as the final boss, he's gonna get the fire and rock type. Dude is literally made out of rock and fire, which is pretty straightforward and obvious. I gotta give him that typing for that reason. Everyone's favorite final boss in Mortal Kombat, Kronika, she is going to get the psychic typing. As I mentioned earlier with Geras, psychic back in Generation 2 was given to Celebi as a form of time-based or time travel, and since Kronika's entire moveset is based around time manipulation, psychic fits perfectly here. Our fallen elder god Shinnok, and Kronika's son, will get the psychic typing because of his telekinesis and weird summoning, and I'll give him the ghost typing as he was banished to the Netherrealm and rules down there. I also thought it'd be fun to have a ghost and psychic typing once again, so there you got it with Shinnok. And another fun typing that I wanted to address again is for Quan Chi, the wicked sorcerer and member of the Deadly Alliance. He's gonna get the ghost and dark typing. He is a very evil guy that explains the dark aspect, and because he uses a lot of Netherrealm magic, I'm giving him the ghost typing. And speaking of Deadly Alliance, Shang Tsung, the original final boss, is getting the ghost typing because of his soul-stealing ability, and normal typing because of his shape-shifting, similar to Ditto from the Pokemon games, and similar to what I said for Shujinko earlier, being able to use any type of moveset is usually attributed to the normal typing. And our final character to wrap up the bosses segment here is Shao Kahn, or General Shao. Because he rules with an iron fist, and because of his Wrath Hammer, I am giving him the steel typing for that. And because he is a very strong, formidable foe, also an Outworlder, and possibly more dragon-like, I'm giving him the dragon typing as well. And time to look at our final category, this going to the DLC / guest characters that have shown up throughout every single Mortal Kombat game. Now for the guest characters, we're gonna go in release order to make it easier. Starting things off with our first guest character and only console exclusive guest, Kratos from the God of War. I really debated on this one, but I'm gonna give him fire and steel, primarily how he's depicted in Mortal Kombat. A lot of his weapons are made out of some form of metal or steel that are from Olympus, and because a lot of his attacks emanate some form of fire, I decided to give him the fire and steel duo typing here. He would also be a wonderful Poke combatant. Up next is everyone's favorite killer from the Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger, as he is a horrible monster in this timeline, doing terrible things when he was alive, and in the afterlife, he's getting the dark typing. But since he is a dream demon, I'm giving him the ghost typing as well. And similar to the other slasher that everyone loves, Jason Voorhees, because he's undead, a weird zombie thing, he's gonna get the ghost typing. But because he resides at Crystal Lake, primarily hiding underwater, I'm also gonna give him the water typing. I felt like the move Lake Mist would fit this well too, so I'm gonna argue for water right there. Up next, we've got one of the coolest characters to be ever put on screen, the Predator. And because this is specifically the Jungle Hunter, I'm gonna give him the grass typing because he's primarily hiding in the jungles, and because of his arsenal in Mortal Kombat, I'm giving him the steel typing. His steel mask, his smart discs, spear, yeah, I'm arguing for steel on that one. Next on our list, we've got ourselves Leatherface. You would think I would give him the steel because of his chainsaw, but I saw that was a little too obvious. And because I already consider him like a physically weaker character, I'm just gonna give him one typing this time around. Because he is known to be a cannibal, a pretty evil thing, he's getting the dark typing for that. He's also a slasher slasher who does terrible things, so dark just fits. Up next is our final guest character from Mortal Kombat X, and this is the alien, or the xenomorph. All of the variations of the xenomorph are going to get the bug and poison typing. The xenomorph is already very bug-like, so that just fits that category. And because the xenomorph uses a lot of acid-based attacks, that really fits under the poison typing. Moving on to Mortal Kombat 11, we've got ourselves Spawn. I really thought about this one, but I decided to go with Ghost and Dark. Spawn is General of Hell's army, he is undead, so there's Ghost for you right there. And because he's an anti-hero using a lot of necro magic or does a lot of killing, Dark fits here too. Up next, we've got ourselves the Terminator T-800 and RoboCop. This one I'm just gonna make plain and simple. They're both nearly unstoppable things made out of metal, so they're both getting the steel typing here. Up next, we got ourselves DC's The Joker, and because of all of the dark, evil things he's done, he's getting the dark type. Up next, we got ourselves another 80s icon, this being Rambo. To make this one more simple, and because he's a more grounded character, I'm just gonna give him the fighting type. And since he uses a lot of traps, army crawling all around the ground, and ground warfare, I'm giving him the fighting and ground dual typing. Finally, making our way to Mortal Kombat 1 with Omni-Man and Homelander. They're both very evil people, so they're both getting the dark typing, and because they're some of the only superheroes who can fly, I'm giving him the flying type as well. Peacemaker, on the other hand, he's a fighter, easily if you could watch the Peacemaker show or watch the Suicide Squad, and because of his helmet and all the weird helmet abilities that he has and uses in his moveset, he gets the steel typing. Up next, we've got ourselves Ghostface, and similar to Freddy Krueger and the Joker, because of how evil this person is, they just get the dark typing. Conan the Barbarian, one of our latest DLC characters, as he's a strong fighter and barbarian, I'm giving him the fighting type, and because of that giant sword and all that iron he was pumping, he gets the steel typing. Like, dude, oh my god, what was your routine? And our last character that we are looking at is our latest DLC character, the T-1000. I almost gave him the steel type alone, similar to T-800, but then I remembered that he was liquid metal, crawling around in a puddle, morphing his body into all of this stuff, so I decided to give him the odd typing of steel and water. And so there you have every single Mortal Kombat character given Pokemon typings. This was a very weird video, and I know there are probably going to be a lot of conflicting opinions on this one, so which one of these do you agree with? Which one of these typings would you completely change? And if you could catch any of these, which one would you catch first, and who would you take through your entire journey through the Cantonian region? Personally, because I am biased, I would definitely choose Sub-Zero, but let me know who you would choose down below. I hope you all are doing well. We are very close to the halfway point of 2025, which is very weird to think about because it just coasted by so quickly. But I do want to let you know I have a few video projects that I have planned right now. I'm going to be bringing back All Costumes Ranked, covering Mortal Kombat and non-Mortal Kombat characters, so stay tuned for that. And Doom the Dark Ages is coming out fairly soon, so I want to do a story playthrough live stream of that. Hopefully I can bring my brother on board because he's the biggest Doom fan I know, so I think that'd be a lot of fun, so stay tuned for details on that. And I also want to do a few more Mortal Kombat discussion videos, so stay tuned for those. Those will be coming in the next few weeks or so. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to drop a like, subscribe, and share. Your support truly means a ton. I cannot thank you all enough. Literally, I only do these videos just for you guys. You truly mean a ton to me, and you mean a ton to this channel. And with all of that, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this video. My name is Nick. Gotta catch 'em all, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Fight!